Tonight we're going to be discussing overcoming mental health stigmas. Welcome everybody to my room. Thank you so much for joining me as I facilitate my official first class tonight. I want to say thank you to Circles for the opportunity. As I was telling Rachel, I was able to kind of get my feet wet last week when Jeff hosted my first class, which was on unexpected departures. And that's actually part of, I share part of my story on that particular night. It's recorded on the Circles channel on Spotify. So if you have Spotify, go there and check it out. And now I get to, jump all the way in, so to speak. So as other people are coming in, what I want to do is just, I don't think that anybody's new. I don't see the little green symbol, so everybody's familiar with Circles, right? You can speak or put it in the chat or give me a heart. Okay, Alexis, yep. So what I want to do is ask you in the chat if you could name a place where you enjoy going or where you like to go in the future that represents peace and serenity for you, whether that's a certain destination like a lake or a beach, maybe it's a trail or a certain vacation spot that you've been eyeing, or maybe it's, a certain book if you like to read. I'm a reader, or something of that nature. If you just want to share that in the chat. And I know you may have to think a second. All right, Alexis says Bali. Yes, I've actually been to Bali. It is beautiful, peaceful, the nicest people. Hey, Katrina, welcome. We are just doing our icebreaker. Welcome to Lady. That's all I see. I don't know if it says something else. Welcome. Okay. What we're doing is an icebreaker in the chat. What I asked was if you could just name a place where you enjoy going or you have a desire to go in the future that represents peace and serenity for you, like a lake, beach, trail, a book that you want to dive into, or a vacation spot. You can put that in the chat. So Jan says San Jose, Costa Rica. Yes, I went to, what is it? Jaco, I don't know how you say it, but that was beautiful. Costa Rica is beautiful. Rachel says there's a song called Secret Garden. The girl I meant to be. That song and image represents safety and peace to me. I'll have to look that up. So the song is called The Girl I Meant to Be. Okay. Awesome. And then Lady and Katrina, if you have a place or certain thing that you like to do or go to feel peaceful, that represents serenity. If not, you can add it later. So whether you've actually been to those places or you have a desire to go, or, like in Rachel's case, the song that she mentioned, what feelings? Oh, horse farm. Okay, lady, you are my people. Horses are my favorite animal. I love them. Love them, love them. Now, about those things, what emotions or feelings do you experience or think you would experience when you are there? And you can put it in the chat or you can just say it, unmute yourself. Alexis says bliss. Welcome, Lisa. We are just, did she pop in and pop back out? Okay. Kaylin says, yes, the horses, yes. All right, so do any of you ever feel like that we need to escape from the day-to-day of life? I mean, I know I have. Life can get stressful. Life is lifing. You know, stress is at an all-time high. Work is demanding. The kids are being kids. We have bills and medical expenses and house repairs, car repairs. And then we add our personal and familial relationships to that. It can make us want to crave an out, right? Definitely. Hi, Lisa. I saw you pop in and pop back out. I didn't know what happened to you. We are just finishing up the icebreaker. What I asked everybody to share in the chat is if you could name a certain place or thing that you like to do that represents peace or serenity, whether that's a vacation spot, a lake, or maybe it's a certain thing that you like to do, like reading. And what I've asked them is when you put that place in the chat, how you feel about it, why you enjoy doing those things, or what you think you'd enjoy about doing those things. Painting, yes. Beautiful, yes. Because you're creating your own canvas, right? I love that. And then we're talking about welcome. Is it Claire? I can only see part of your name. Clarita, maybe?
Perfect.
Clarita.
Perfect.
Clarita,
Yep.
welcome,
Glad.
welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Lady, do you have a question?
No, I wanted to share how I feel when I'm at a horse farm.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I feel like I can let my guard down, you know what I mean? Like I'm not being judged. I don't have to wear a mask. I don't have to be brave. I don't have to be successful. I can just be who I am, and
Yes.
and I'm just at peace. It's very it's like serenity.
Yeah, freeing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good. Um, I think that we all need to escape from time to time. It's good for us, it's healthy for us. But if we aren't careful, escapism can become a crutch that we can lean on to avoid the root of our issues or our pain. But when we do this, we aren't really living in our present or practicing mindfulness or awareness. Um, I know I've closed myself off from everybody from time to time. Put that phone on do not disturb, or just get in my car and go riding. Can anybody relate to that? You just need a minute,
Yes.
right? There is a quote. Let me see if I can. Oh, and Katrina said the Holy Land. Yes. Let's see if I can do that. This is my official first time, so I don't know if it'll let me do it. Maybe not. So I'll just read what it says. Running away from our problems is a race you'll never win. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. So it's almost like when we run away for extended periods of time, when we try to escape, it's almost like tiptoeing around a landmine. Katrina says she can relate. It's almost like tiptoeing around a landmine. And you know, the things that we're tiptoeing around are the things that we haven't addressed. And so, of course, the moment you step on that landmine, what's going to happen? It's going to blow up. Hi, Annie. Welcome. Good to have you. You're going to blow up. Go ahead, Rachel.
I was just going to say that I identify that. I think that, in the past, I certainly have tried to escape, and I've learned that geographical cures absolutely do not work. I have also recognized that even if it appears like it could be a distraction, for example, going to the gym, it's less about the act of what's being done versus what the intention is behind it. Is the intention behind it to distract, put it on a shelf, take it down, and look at it later? Or is it to avoid it? And I always say, like, pain plus resistance to that pain is suffering. And like you said, you really do have to feel it to heal it. And that's one of the hardest things to do.
Feel it to heal it. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, feel it to heal it. Because what we're essentially doing when we don't feel, we're numbing, basically. And I recently read an article that mentioned that when we feel like we need to escape, we need to ask ourselves three questions to make sure that we aren't using escapism as a coping mechanism. Number one is, what am I crashed on me? It crashed on you, Jan? Are you still? I know my app is kind of freezing a little bit. I don't know about anybody else, but I see you're still here. So, um, the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what am I escaping from? Is it a short reprieve, or am I running away from something? The second thing we need to ask is, when I come back, how do I feel after I escape? Do I feel revived? Do I feel motivated, or am I depressed to return to reality? That may indicate that there is a need for additional support, right? And then the third thing is, how much is my everyday life being impacted by the need to escape? Is that becoming the primary thing that, I'm waking up, doing my day to day, but I can only think about, I need to escape again. I need to escape again. So now I want to cross the bridge and get into mental health and the stigmas, because it's all related, right? The US Department of Health says that our mental health is a combination of our emotional, our social, and our psychological sense of well being. It basically affects how we function, as well as how we interact with friends and family and spouses and society in general. So, this is what, 2023. A lot has changed in 3 years. What happened in 2020? Everybody knows it impacted all of us, the pandemic, right? Everything was shut down. We had curfews. We had hospitals at max capacity. It was a whole new scary normal. And I don't know where you guys live, but I'm in Florida, and it was insane. It was insane. And since that time, the rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, and drug use, to name a few things, has increased as well. But all of that has increased the need for mental health support. But there are, a lot of concerns with therapy. There are these stigmas or negative viewpoints, in other words, that surround a certain characteristic that a person might have. Think about disabilities or skin color or mental illness in this particular discussion that we're having. But it really all comes from the lack of understanding or misinformation, because a lot of people don't know. And so we can also apply a self stigma to ourselves based on what we've seen in society. I know a lot of people. Hi, Liz. Is it Liz?
It's Lise, actually.
Liz, okay, welcome. Nice to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you.
We're just talking about, we talked about escapism and how people feel that sometimes they need to escape from their real life, and that can sometimes indicate a need for mental health support, and the stigmas that society puts out, as well as ourselves. And a lot of people don't want to be judged or mistreated, so they try to handle things on their own. I remember when I was going through depression, more than a few times in my life. And there's one particular time I was hesitant to share with my doctor that I felt like I needed medication just to help me. And subconsciously, these feelings came about from what I'd seen and what I heard on TV and social media. But ultimately we have to understand that taking care of ourselves is never wrong. We have to do what's best for us, right? And yeah, Alexis and Jan are giving me hearts there. Yeah. And I don't know how you all were raised, but I came from a Christian background. And the first thing everybody would say, oh, just pray about it. Just pray about it. The older, grandparents and things like that, they didn't really come from an era where we embraced our mental health. And while prayer does change things and is very important to me, seeking therapy does not make you crazy or less than. There are some situations where people have a chemical imbalance that requires medication. So I just think that we all need to normalize taking care of our mental health without feeling the backlash of being judged. Do y'all relate to that? Yeah, Alexis. Um, so the stereotypes that we can have or we can put on people rather. You've probably heard people with mental illness are crazy. Oh, they're dangerous. They must have done something to cause that. And then there's this fear. There's this fear that exists for the person in that position that he or she might lose friends or family, that there's a fear of the unknown. In addition, the people that come into contact with a person who is experiencing mental illness may, subconsciously discriminate, such as an employer or a landlord or even, school. And if you're in the hospital, think about differential treatment that you could potentially be exposed to: neglect, substandard care, verbal abuse. I mean, I've heard these stories. You know, People only are able to visit their loved ones during a certain time. Um, yeah, Jan, that's right. Seeking a therapist is never wrong. It's critical even when you don't think you have a pending issue. I mean, I think therapy should be the norm for everybody, right? I agree with you. Um, and then in our society, our men are taught to be strong, to hide their emotions, to, put on a good front. And unfortunately, that leads to them being less likely to seek help. But if you've been paying attention in the last couple of years, they have a higher rate of depression and suicide. I mean, look at the celebrities within the last year that have committed suicide, unfortunately. And then our women, we are supposed to be peaceful and gentle as mothers and caretakers, putting everybody's needs before our own. And I talked a little bit about this in my uh, first class last week with Jeff, but I lost my own mother to suicide when I was 3 years old. And so it makes me think about what her feelings were surrounding the ability to seek help, since this was in the 70s. This was over 40 years ago, where therapy was more taboo. Um, Most people were taught to just pull it together, just get yourself together, and a lot of this can have negative impacts on the people needing therapy. Like if you're not able to get that, or you don't feel that you would be embraced, that lowers your self-esteem. Then you have a loss of hope. You have stress relationships, increased medical issues. I mean, imagine being at work and not feeling like you can get an out. I mean, now we have EAP. A lot of employers offer employer assistance programs and things like that. But if you don't feel that you are able to go to somebody and say, hey, I need to talk to somebody, that's something you're going to internalize, right? But I think that a lot of people don't seek help because not only for these reasons, but also due to the lack of access. Like, what are your thoughts on the lack of access nowadays? Do you feel that it's readily available? Do you feel that there are certain challenges? And you can put in the chat or take yourself off mute.
Um, I'll chime in with this. There is definitely a lot more help today than there used to be.
Mm-hmm.
All of it is not through a person obtaining traditional talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
There is sensative intelligencing brought through the embodiment works of the group Peter Levine, Barbara Brennan, and a few of those other guys.
Mm-hmm.
They actually come up with a body of work that is about embodiment in and of itself.
Yeah.
Bessel Vandercoat too is part of that team. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
meditation,
Oh yeah.
tea,
Definitely.
nature. We know
Mm-hmm.
more now.
We do. Yeah. And that's very important what you brought up about nature, because a lot of people now work remotely. They are in the house at least 8 hours a day, not getting the sun. And the sun, while we have to watch our exposure, the sun is good for us. The sun helps us to be restored and replenished. It does something for our, hormones, and we need that vitamin D, right? Um, Katrina says some may not know how to get it. That's true. And then be afraid to ask on top of that. Alexis says she sees a lot of resources on Twitter. Yeah, I'm sure. It depends on with that and social media, the age range. A lot of people may not be as, internet savvy or even know that that is a way to obtain resources. Rachel says she lives in Massachusetts and it's one of the best states to get care. That said, access to care and quality. Yeah, yeah, it's always something, right? You get one and then the other is lacking. Um, a study was done by the National Council for Well-Being, and it said that, I want to say, was it 50 or 60%? Somewhere in there, that despite 50 to 60% of Americans seeking help, that the availability of the services is insufficient. And that can be related to high costs, lack of insurance. Some of these places or therapists have, limited options. A lot of people prefer face to face. And I think because of, the pandemic, a lot of people moved to virtual visits for obvious reasons, but that's a limited option, or there are long waits for appointments, months and months out. And then we have the lack of awareness, as I think it was Katrina that said that, where do I go for help? Who do I turn to? Who do I reach out to? And who can I trust? Welcome. Is it Janari?
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good. We're just talking about the lack of availability of seeking mental health therapy um, due to different things: high cost, lack of insurance, limited knowledge, where to go, who to turn to, or limited options, lack of awareness. Where do you go to seek help? And then those stigmas that we talked about, being judged by society, being judged by friends, or fear of losing friends, right? I think the majority feels a fear of being judged. And then there are some who may lie to other friends or family about seeking help because they don't want that backlash, those stigmas of, oh, she's crazy or he's crazy because they went to their doctor for medication. Um, has anybody who has sought help had any of these experiences that they want to share? Because you aren't alone. I've suffered as well with my own struggles.
I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
So, with my struggles and my triggers that I go through, um, I did have, well, she still is, I call a very close friend. She goes through the same kind of stuff that I go through, just on a different level. We've been friends for maybe 13 years now, so pretty long friendship. Um, I've recently started my own healing journey with like therapy, through school and everything else. So I found the resources that I need to, push forward in my life. Um, and I've been doing pretty okay. I've been doing pretty decent with it. Um, Obviously, I still got a long ways to go. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but throughout that journey, I really feel like where I am and where like she is, I feel like we really don't have as much in common. Um, but it's all right though. Like I'm not really tripping about that part. Like I really don't care about losing friends, losing people. It's just you have that set group of people that you really want to be around. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, it's all right. We're still very close. It's just we really don't have as much in common. She doesn't really have the drive to get better as I do, and it's not like a backlash on her. It's like I'm trying to push her towards that, but I can't let go of myself, be blinded for myself, type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. What you just said makes me think about last week. I was telling some of the earlier um, attendees that I shared my initial story last week, and we were talking about that you have to want help. Nobody can want it for you. And so as long as, you guys have been friends, you can't want it more than she does,
Mm-mm.
right?
Nope.
And so you just have to meet her where she is. It's kind of like, you know, the horse. You can't make it drink. You can lead it to the water. You can't make it drink. And so I just think that only thing you can do is just support her as best as you can, but at the same time, not losing yourself in that.
Thanks. And I feel like in our relationship between me and her, I have lost myself a lot. And so, I wanted, because she does a lot of like photography, school, things like that. I'm all here. I'm all here for supporting, giving my full 100% praise, but I can't lose myself in that mix. Um,
Exactly.
we have
Exactly.
two different views, two different viewpoints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Welcome, Lori and Eddie. Thank you for joining us this evening. So far, we just really have talked about escapism and how often there's our need to escape our lives, our daily lives, and all the stressors that life can bring can sometimes turn into a crutch that can kind of stifle us in our growth and our ability to, live the lives that we deserve to live. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what are we running from? If it's becoming a issue where we're trying to escape on the daily basis, and also how you're feeling after you escape. Is it just just feeling renewed after a quick break, or is it causing you depression to have to come back to your real life? And so all of that makes there no need for additional support. And we've talked about the stigmas that exist in our society, the judgment, the fear of being judged by friends and employers, and needing to or feeling the need to just handle it on your own. But there are resources. Some are limited in certain areas, some are a little bit more prevalent in others. And We've just been sharing our personal stories on if we've experienced any of those, negative, taboo types of experiences. So if any of you want to share that, you can put it in the chat, or you can feel free to speak on the mic. Eddie, go ahead.
Um, before my separation, I um I never could understand how people, I would see people and see that they're going through so much. In my mind, I was like, life is not that hard, right? Life's not that hard when you're not going through something hard. And when that happened to me, it didn't take long for me to realize how easy someone could lose their job just by losing somebody that meant so much to them, you know? How that
Mm-hmm.
could feel debilitating, how that could feel complete lostness, how you could feel like you lost your self worth. There's so many different emotions that become raw. And after this experience, I have to say it was the biggest blessing to me in my life. By having somebody leave me,
Mm,
it made me open up to the fact of all the emotions I never had in my life. And one of
mm,
them was you shouldn't neglect your own, how would you say, your own wants and needs that you have that are valid, and
yeah,
make so many concessions to the point that it's no longer a relationship, it's just one-sided. And you
yeah,
shouldn't be with somebody just for the sake of being with somebody because you've gotten used to and accustomed to their ways, and vice versa. Sometimes you got to think outside of the box and just go. And
yeah,
it was a blessing for me. Now that I look back on it, in the beginning it felt like a lot of drama, and emotionally I couldn't even walk without seeing that person standing in front of me, thinking past memories, reminiscing. And then there's this other word that they call reminiscing, or wherever it is, but I was doing a lot of that,
yeah.
and jumping in each room and hearing people repeat the story of something that affected them so dramatically over and over again. I was doing that. And then to hear someone else do it, it kind of like, it was like a light switch in my head. Ed, you got to acknowledge it and acknowledge the pain, feel the love, and then now you got to look back and you have to start loving and caring for yourself. Once I
Mm,
started doing that, I was able to break free of that. Then I was able to heal a little bit more, to the point that right now I feel blessed that I'm not having panic attacks anymore. I'm not crying from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. Now I have
mm,
tools through therapy and through these rooms that if I'm going to cry, I designate a time to just let it all out. I come
yes.
home, I give myself 30 minutes. I say, if you're going to feel that emotion, feel it right now, get it out of your system. Tomorrow's going to be a new day. I have myself a little cry, get it out, and then I focus on all the stuff I have to do for tomorrow by writing a list of the things that need to happen so I don't neglect those things. That's all I have to say.
Mm,
Yep.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. You just said some powerful things. I think that we can all judge other people when we are not in those situations. And like you said, life can change in an instant by losing your job, losing a loved one, a closing into a relationship or a friendship. And when you feel pain, you feel pain. And neglecting yourself, we all do it. I've done it. Uh, I wrote a book on my life, and a couple of my chapters actually is on abandonment. And I'm pretty sure you know what physical and emotional abandonment is, but we can also abandon ourselves. And a lot of that, what you spoke about, was was abandoning yourself in those moments. You put so much into that person. When you love people in general, we love with everything. And sometimes we can become blinded to what we really need to see and understand. And sometimes we have to close one door to be able to walk into a new room with new opportunities and new blessings. Every loss is not a loss, you know. It's making room for what's supposed to come into your life. It's making room for what your destiny has waiting for you. And I'm gonna put some links in the chat just while we're talking. Katrina says, allow yourself to get it out. Yes. And I also love that you did not allow the pain to just, take over your whole day. You acknowledged what you were going through, you acknowledged how you felt, but you set a time limit. You set a time limit, you gave yourself a period of time that, hey, I'm going to feel these emotions and then I'm going to regather myself and I'm going to go on with my day. I love that. I love it. I love it. And I'm glad that you have tools to help you. I really applaud that. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Let me just add this to the chat. So I put a copy of my book here, and then I'm also going to put a link to a course that I taught live previously. It's called Survive to Thrive. And it basically helps you move from a life of survival mode, because we aren't meant to live in a life of survival. We were meant to live a life of thriving, of abundance. And I don't know who your higher power is or who you believe in, but my testimony, I'm here because of the man upstairs. And I just want to pour back into others to help them as well. Yeah, and you will get there. You will get there. It's a process, and everybody has their own journey, and that journey is beautiful. And yeah, you will get there. Let me just add this here. So we have, all right, both links are in there to my site and to my book. But let me get on with my next point so that we can talk about that. So we were previously talking about anybody, all of us with our own struggles. I've definitely suffered with my own struggles. We have celebrities in the news that have gone through these things as well. And, behind every smiling face, that doesn't mean that the person is okay. I'm sure you guys have heard of, always check on the strong friend, because the strong friends are always there for other people. But who's there for them? All of these people that we've heard about in the news, oh, everything looked perfect. They were always smiling. They were always happy. They had the life that everybody appeared to have, will want to have, but they take their lives. Why? What's going on? So what can we do to address these stigmas and overcome them? Rachel, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I really appreciated how you, I just feel like language is so important. And you said, I can't remember exactly what it was that you said, but you said, the ones that look like strong. And then I think you switched from saying strong to having a smile on their face or whatever. And I think that's so important, because I think it's the vulnerable individuals who, to be vulnerable, that is what takes so much strength. Mm-hmm. And so I loved, Monaye, how you just very quickly picked a different word and reframed that. I think that's so important and so telling. And yeah, I had a nurse a while ago tell me, it really stuck with me. Her name is Ellen, and she said it's the ones that fly under the radar that we really have to worry about. And I think that's really poignant and really profound.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you hear people say, well, I had no idea. And she was always, smiling. And I think Kate Spade's father, the designer, said he had just spoken with her maybe an hour before, and she was excited about a vacation. And it's like, how do we manage that? How do we, stop that or counter that? Um, because you don't know. You know, I wonder if my mom could have spoken to someone, but at 21 years old, she probably wasn't even thinking about that, right? Um, so here are some things that we can do. We can show compassion towards ourselves and others because negative self talk is real. Our mind is constantly feeding us all of the negative things. We aren't this. We should have done this. Then we beat ourselves up for every little mistake. We can't allow it to take root. We have to verbally counter those thoughts with positive affirmations. I am statements. I am powerful. I am successful. I am beautiful. I am worthy. I am loved. Yes, the words that come out of your mouth are profound on what you believe. Yes, you are what you say, and you become what you say. It starts in our mind, our thoughts, and then our words, and then we become what we do and what we think. So, knowing how to show yourself grace, right? Because perfection is an illusion, perfection doesn't exist. Yes, affirmations, exactly, Katrina. Be right back. Okay, thank you, Lori. Um, Number 2, we have to choose self love over shame. Acknowledge that seeking help is a form of loving yourself. Your issues don't define you because society wants to label us by what's perceived to be wrong with us, what our flaws are. But guess what? We all have flaws. Only God is perfect. And then we have to talk about our mental health. We have to be vulnerable, and that's not easy, right? We have to go to a place of vulnerability and be open, because once you find that person who you can, sit down with, you got to feel comfortable with him or her in order to trust them, right? You have to feel comfortable. You have to feel that they're not going to judge you. They're not going to look down on you, that you can be yourself. Because to be able to receive the help, you've got to be honest. And we have to educate others on what we've learned. I'm always open to learning. There's never too much learning that we can do. And remember, most of society has a fear. It's just a fear of misinformation. It's a fear of not knowing. It's a fear of the unknown. People want routine. They want to stay the same. They don't like change. And so we have to be able to be open to, receiving new information. And then we need to bridge the gap. We all need to help. Welcome, Adam. We are talking about ways to overcome and address stigmas. We've talked about the fact that we need to show compassion towards ourselves and others, that we have to choose love over shame, because shame does not belong to us, whether it's self-shame or shame from other people. We don't need to accept that. We have to learn to talk openly about our mental health, being vulnerable, educating others, because most people fear misinformation, which is where our stigmas come from. And we have to be careful about the language that we use. So much of the language that's used concerning people with mental illness is derogatory. It's really unacceptable. I think that until, just like Eddie was saying, I don't think he's here anymore, but until you're in a situation that you can relate to, that causes you pain, that causes you heartbreak, that causes you concern, most people judge other people. And so we have to put ourselves in other people's place with care, compassion, allow people to be vulnerable, be that listening ear that people that listening heart, rather, that people need, because most people just want to be heard, right? And then we have to tap into our resources. We talked about how the availability of mental health therapy has increased. Hi, Debbie. I see you're new on Circles. Welcome. So glad to have you. Um, we talked about earlier, thank you so much, Adam. We talked about earlier how since the 70s, of course, the whole thought process about mental health has changed. It's not as much taboo as it was, but it does still exist. But some of the resources are limited due to high insurance costs or long waits or limited availability of in person sessions. But we have so many resources in the community. And Lori says she feels weird. Oh, that's just Janari saying that. I feel weird, open. I feel open and comfortable with anonymous people more than the people who's in my life. Very concerned. No, I get that because sometimes being with a party who does not know you, you don't see this person every day. This person doesn't know all the things about you. That person is more unbiased, if you will. Yeah, that person is unbiased to that's what they're there for. And then we have the friends who we've known forever who are going to judge us. That's where the fear comes from of our relationships being impacted by sharing what we're really going through or sharing the need for medication. Um, Adam says that's pretty normal. We worry about the expectations and perceptions of others who are closest to us. Exactly. And that's something we talked about earlier about fear of being judged by our friends and our family and our employers and all of those things. So we've got community resources. We have employer assistance programs. We have books and podcasts and things that help us out with that. So we have 8 minutes left. For those of you who just joined, I did put my link to my book that I wrote about my life. It's called No Longer Bound, and I go over how I overcame abandonment, assault, and abuse throughout my life, and also a course that I created called Survive to Thrive. But just a quick summary for you all, we did talk about the increased need for mental health support, how escapism, needing to escape your reality, can lead to issues with mental health, that we need to understand what we're escaping from, how you feel after you escape. Is it good due to our reprieve, or is it causing depression because you have to come back from your trip or your journey? And then how much is your escapism impacting your life? Um, does anybody have questions or comments that they would like to share? Thank you, Lloyd. Please leave a review. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining tonight. And you all
I
can
had
feel
one
free to speak.
question.
Sure.
About what I said in the comments. How would you end up, starting to being comfortable with people around you, whether it be like relationships or close friends, relatives, people like them. Like, how do you start being comfortable with around them? Like, I don't know how to word it.
Are you saying in terms of if you realize that you have something that you're dealing with and how to navigate sharing that with them?
Uh, yes, and yes, and or if they don't know um what you're really going through, or if they have or if they know what you're going through, but they have a misconception.
I think, first of all, not every friend is the same type of friend, right? We have
Did it cut off for everybody or just me?
I think it cut off for everybody. The host left, so I think she might be joining back. Hopefully.
I'm here.
Yeah, she'll definitely come back. But Adam, can you say what you had to say? I feel like you have something good.
Yeah, I'll just say real quick because I don't have a lot of time. I know this is going to wrap up. This is a great question. The scary thing is you have to accept the risk. You're gonna learn very fast who is for you and who's against you. When you start revealing your real self, and vulnerability is a great strength, and you start talking about this idea of mental health, we should have the ability to talk about it the way we say, I'm going to a movie, I'm going to dinner, I'm going to see my therapist. Hey, I'm struggling with anxiety and stress and depression. The same way we're trying to work through new skills. But you're going to learn really quick who loves you for an image that they are.
Hey guys, I don't know what happened. The app totally cut me out, but I'm back in. Sorry about that. I don't know. I think Janari was speaking. Was that correct?
Yes, he was speaking. This is Adam right now. I was just answering real quick while you bounced out. I just
Okay.
said the scary thing is you have to accept this risk. It's very scary, but you have to accept this risk that some of the people who are in your life right now don't see you for who you really are. They see you for an image that they have created of you in their minds. And so when you start becoming vulnerable and honest about your mental health challenges and even successes on things, you're going to learn who's been for you from day one and who
Yeah.
wants to stick with you and normalize the fact that we all struggle. Doesn't matter how much you make, doesn't matter how much you've achieved, where you are in life. The great equalizer is the fact that we all struggle. So when you start to open up, just know you have to accept a certain amount of risk, that you might be trimming some of the fat in terms of relationship from your life. And although in the moment it's incredibly painful and it's super scary and you might feel isolated and alone, the long game is what you're going for. And the long game means that as people might leave your life because they have a stigma that they have perceived about you, they
Hmm.
might feel like you're broken, even though you know you can achieve great things in spite of mental health challenges. uh, when those people bounce, it's going to leave room for the people who really see the value in you to take those spots. And that's really what you want to go towards in life.
Bravo. Bravo, bravo,
Nice.
bravo.
Very nice.
I love that, Adam. Yeah, you you definitely summed that up. Yeah, I think I was starting to say that there are different levels of friends in our lives, and some of our friends aren't the type of friends that we can be that vulnerable with. But once we do that, that's going to show us who's really for us and who's really not. And the ones who aren't, then you put them in their category, or they may move out into a different part of your life, and sometimes that's not a they don't get access to you in the way that they thought they should. Is it Tiara? Tiara?
Yes, ma'am. I just real quick. I know I'm closing, but I had friends tell me not to tell people I was depressed or not tell people I had ADHD or anything mental. They were like, keep it to yourself. You shouldn't tell anybody. Keep it to yourself. But I have been sharing my journey on Facebook. I don't post any, like, I post memes or whatever, but I don't do it like I used to because I'm really working on my journey. And now that I put my story out there, I have so many people inbox me and tell me, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I had these symptoms as well." I'm like, this is that. When you start owning your superpowers, or controlling it, because I have ADHD, so I call it my superpower. I don't call it a disability. So as we start learning it and painting it and putting the work in for it, you're able to advocate for people that have the issues you have, and you're able to relate, and more people are going to be able to be like, man, me too. Especially
Yes.
men, they're very
I
much.
have to I have to break it here because we're really getting ready to end. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing that. It's so important to share with others because your story isn't for you, it's for others. But we have to release the mistakes that we've made or that we feel we've made and live in the present, become somebody that we can depend on, and we have to do the work. I want to read something if I have time to read it. Is that you may think that you are completely insignificant in this world, but somebody drinks coffee from the favorite cup that you gave them. Someone heard a song on the radio that reminded them of you. Someone read the book that you recommended and plunged headfirst into it. Someone smiled after a hard day's work because they remembered a joke that you told them today. Your trace, which you leave behind with every good deed, cannot be erased. That's just a summary of something that I wanted to leave with you all. Thank you, Circles, for the opportunity. Thank you all for sharing your stories tonight. And please leave a review. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you all next week. And we have a new topic. And I hope that you guys have a great, great night.